And here we are, lesson number 3. It is Freya's day. So remember, I will not be assigning any homework, but then on Monday we'll do the split. It is technically St. Patty's Day, so happy St. Patty's Day in my world. Again, anyone not listening on St. Patty's Day, just consider it for the last or the future. Selecting an appropriate rational number. Lesson 84. These are one of these lessons I love that Saxon does because they're just really into your mathematical thought and taking time to consider best choices. And I feel like it's all about best choices, which in the classroom we discuss that a lot, right? We raise our hands to choose or we identify something that we believe. And we've kind of find out who's right. But this isn't really about who's right. It's more like, well, what's going to make the path the most efficient? If we look at this first situation where it says how much is 40% of one half of $12.60, what we're considering is choosing an appropriate rational number for things. And so, if we consider something like 40%, we know that we could turn that into a decimal. We know we could turn that into a non-reduced fraction, such as 40 over 100. We also hopefully know by heart that a reduced fraction is simply 2/5. We might make the same consideration about one half and go, oh, should I turn that into a decimal? And it really kind of depends. It depends on the other values. We should know from the use of these words that we're going to be multiplying everything together. So what do you do? Do you turn the first one into a fraction? Keep the second one as a fraction? I don't know. Like what would you do? Really? Huh. Okay. Well, this is what your book would suggest for this situation, although I'm not saying anyone's right. They say, hey, let's go decimal. So they're going to multiply the 0 and 4/10 times 0 and 5/10, and then obviously times that decimal value, which I'll put at 12 and 6/10 because it's the same. And this is just a choice. Maybe I can even do 0 and 4/10 and 0 and 5/10 in my head, but sometimes there's that little safety net with the decimals. You know what you got to do with them. So it may surprise you that 0 and 5/10 times 0 and 5/10 is actually equal to 0 and 2/10. And then I multiply that by the $12.6, and I'll do that work over here. La 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 la. And then what would I get? I wonder if you can hear that Apple Pencil clicking. So I'm using Apple Pencil. You can probably tell it's much smoother than the first lesson. So I would, move my decimal place. I end up with $2.52. And would I have arrived at that same answer if I made those fractional choices? I would have. However, maybe in this situation, because of the numbers they gave me, it was easier to go decimal, which we did. Let's look at another situation. How much is 66 and 2/3% of 5/6 of $12.60? So things have slightly changed. I don't know why they're using the same value, the $12.60. I think that's just confusing, but they are. I'm trying to always use the examples given in your book during this time, which I hope you're doing well in this time. You might wonder, how's the puzzle going? Well, this is actually the same day as the lessons from before. So I'm trying to bust out some lessons, get those under my belt. And then puzzle time. It's of this Bavarian castle. It's quite phenomenal. I'll share it with you. So you might wonder, oh, should I turn things into decimal? I know the decimal form of 66 and 2/3%. I hope you do. It's zero point 0.6 repeating. However, you nor I know how to multiply using repeating decimals. So we're really almost forced into a choice here to go, oh, okay, well, then I'll just use the fractional form, which I hope this is a memorized fact. If not, well, refer to some earlier lesson to determine how can I turn 66 and 2/3% into its reduced fraction. And what you could do is you could make it a fraction, 66 and 2/3 of 100, and then do the division or the reducing. You should end up with 2/3 somehow. And then we're going to multiply that by our 5/6. And then you go, should I do something to that money? Well, technically you could, but most people just keep it as money. So let's check out what we get here. I got some nice cross-canceling opportunities. I'm going to rewrite at 5/9 times 1260. And then is it divisible? Well, you do have a divisibility rule for 9. So if I add up those digits, 9 and, well, 9's definitely divisible in 9. By what? Well, I might have to do some work there, at least thinking work. I know 9 times 12 is 108, so that'd be 18 more. So it must be 14. So 14 times 9 is 126. So that would mean that this is reducing to a buck 40. And then I'd multiply that by the 5, doing my work over here, and I end up with 7 bones. Oh, so again, uh, this lesson is not so much about doing the multiplication as it is about like the choosing. Now, next, and this is going to happen a couple times to us, I do want you to access your book. However, please access your book with a cover up tool, like those quarter sheets. So something you can cover up, because they'll tell you the answer right away. I want you to make sure you have the cover up tool. Once you do, then, pause me if you need to go find one. But go to page 564, and in the middle of the page, it starts an example 2. And I want you to cover not the example, but below where it says C, and then it starts to say solution. Don't look at that. And they're basically asking you, which would you choose of A or B or C, given that this public opinion survey gathered data. In one situation, letter A, they gathered fractional data, talking about the number of women or the fraction of women that voted and the fraction of men. And the other, they turned that into decimal form, this many women, 643 thousandths of women. And then the last is just percentage. They rounded to the nearest whole, obviously. Oh my gosh. I just erected, I think. But I was going to ask you, which one would you choose to best present this data? And if you weren't looking, maybe you didn't see it. But all those in favor of A, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All those in favor of B, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those in favor of A? Anyone? A? Bueller? Oh, there. Okay, one person's going out on a limb for A. Oh, I meant C. C. Anyone? No? Okay. It is C. C would definitely be the best. That's how we'd communicate things. We don't talk about 9/14 of women. We might say 64% of women. We definitely aren't going to say 545 thousandths of men in decimal form. We're going to say 55% of men. Makes sense, right? Hey, this was kind of a quick one. So I hope all is well for you. You might go, should I have written this into my notes? No, 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 no. I mean, if you really felt like you needed to, but I more wanted you to have the experience. And they're going to do things like this. They're going to ask you to choose between A, B, and C. But I only needed these first two screens in your notes. Those of you who already wrote them, sorry. L84, selecting an appropriate rational number translates to homework 84, but like I said, it's Freya's Day. No homework, kids. Enjoy that weekend. Hunker down. Puzzle up. It's puzzling. We'll assign the split in your next video, homework 84, 85. Take care. Bye.